Vanny Research Station, you might be able to hear the beeps going as we load into our first map. Vanny.
Right.
Vanny. Vanny is like more exotic.
Vanny.
I've heard Vanny too.
Vanny.
That one's weird.
Vanny. That sounds like a hillbilly. It's like, yo, I got the pickup truck in the Vanny Research Station.
Unbelievable.
Okay. What? And
hey, I'm originally from Indiana. I can talk about hillbillies and rednecks with perfect accuracy. So, anyway.
Oh boy.
Real professional.
I'm a professional.
Yeah, so spawning at the top of Vanny Research Station, we have our longtime Midwest Cup player, our Blue Protoss hero, Playa.
And sitting down at the 6 o'clock position, we have a person who I've actually not ever seen play either, and I'm curious to see what he'll do. Our green Zerg player, Crilmon.
Dude, have you seen this this little computer thing? It's east of Crilmon's base. It's pretty sick.
East of Crilmon's base. Where's it?
That's the ultimate battle station setup.
Yeah, that's what I want my computer at home to be like.
It looks like they either have like a left-handed mouse setup or just like a weird pad.
It's almost like left-handed mousers are the greatest of all time.
The new master race.
Yeah, I guess we're supposed to talk about the game, right?
Nah, man.
No. So anyway, this Hearthstone match is really interesting that we're watching.
Very interesting indeed. So, last Midwest Cup we saw Playa every single game proxied one gateway. Maybe that was just against Terrence.
That was his PVT.
Yeah, his PVT. Much more standard so far. It looks like the way he's dropped his buildings. There's no reason not to really on this map to do that, because it allows you a 2-building plus a 1 unit wall off, and it opens up the possibility here for him to go gateway expand if he wants to.
And already we see a difference between the last PvZ we watched, where the Zerg player is taking his natural nearly immediately. The wall, if you can call it that, at the Protoss main is closer, so it creates a much tighter choke point. He does throw down a forge to make that choke even smaller. So far, I like this. This is where you sort of can tell the difference between the Grandmaster players. And this, by the way, this is not to shortchange any of our other participants, but obviously, Grandmasters do have small little tweaks here and there that sort of distinguish them. And this is, I think, one of them where you see a super fast hatch and you see a very well managed choke point at the ramp to the Protoss base.
Yeah, now we've got some shenanigans coming out of Playa. He's gonna try to abuse the map a little bit, assuming his opponent doesn't have anything near home and isn't sending anything out until his first 2 links. He's going to try to cannon in his opponent. There is actually some map changes made, I think back in Wings of Liberty, to add those destructible rocks at the bottom, which prevents you from dropping three small buildings and trapping everything in. Because it used to be a super imba strat in Silver League to drop 3 cannons at the bottom of the ramp there, and there's just no way to cost-effectively trade and knock those down. So Playa's doing a less cheesy, less ridiculous version of that, sending 1 Scouting Zealot in. Got 1, 2, maybe 3. Oh, so he gets 3 worker kills, right? And now he's got this really annoying cannon going out to his 3rd that you either need to react to, or it's just going to be really annoying. So he's just going to camp here, right? So it prevents any 4-ling, 2-ling sort of shenanigans from getting out.
Yeah, and it does stop that sort of thing that we saw in the last game, where unfortunately Rengen got, he would have these ling run-bys that would occur, that would just run past it. So this sort of kind of halts that, because now you've got a Zerg player that's hesitant. He may push out. He could push out the queens, because they've got a little bit more hit points, or he could, attempt to roach and just send a few roaches out there. But with the second cannon now, this is getting increasingly difficult, and either he gets some heavier units, or he, somehow bypasses it by somehow like just sprinting past them. But with the 3rd cannon now, this is getting very, very interesting, and this is not the best position the Zerg wants. The Zerg wants to put early pressure on the Protoss to try to stop him from taking a 3rd, and he can't do that right now.
He might be able to drop a spine right where he just dropped a tomb or a Creep Tumor right there. If he has a spine in that area, I think he might be able to hit the closer cannon.
What's the range on a spine? I'm not sure. I know the cannon's 7, but what is the range on a spine crawler? Can you even tell? Does it tell you what it is? No, it doesn't tell you in the build menu.
Kevin says 6.
6?
But really, the high ground vision is what is going to let
Right.
the spine crawler hit the cannon. I think it's 6.
Sure, I thought they were even.
Maybe it's
He
7.
did sneak in some creep pass, which is going to be cool.
Yeah, that will help him from furthering this ridiculous goal of putting in additional cannons. Not that he really wants to put more of an investment in this. Obviously, this was meant as a short-term goal, and obviously this was not his all, not his all-in, but his this was not the meat and potatoes of his build. It was meant to sort of prevent the Zerg from taking this third base down here, which Zerg really needs because, as I said, before. Even bases is never a good situation for Zerg to be in. You always want at least one, preferably 2 bases ahead of your opponent.
That's right, and now we've got something kind of curious going on. We've got a Stargate down, opening Void Ray, and then a Twilight on the way. Sort of curious to see what he transitions into here. One Void Ray is always going to be cool in this sort of situation. Clear out Overlords, use it defensively, or what have you. I'm not really positive what the Twilight's about.
Yeah, he hasn't utilized the upgrades on it, so he hasn't gone blink and he hasn't gone for charge yet.
Sure.
So yeah, I agree with that. That's very odd. Although I do think it's cute that there's a Overlord dumping creep over in his third.
Yeah, and that's like just one of those other little things, a little due diligence. It allows him to say, okay, when he gets to see some tech maybe, but he also gets to see when his opponent is trying to take a third, as well as slowing down any third there with the creep. Crilmon's decided he wants his third himself. Comes down with roaches.
Cleans that up rather nicely. I don't think he lost a single roach in that entire engagement versus those 2 cannons. Of course, because roaches are armored, and the photon cannon, I believe, does a flat number of damage. But he is going to push up with this fleet of roaches and potentially these 2 little Zerglings that they're just walking past. But of course, roaches don't shoot up, and so this Void Ray is just going to have lunch, basically, on these roaches. And then eventually just run away and disengage. But still, he still has to contend with these roaches and sit in his base. He pulls the 2 zealots and the mothership core, and he's getting his warp gates going. And there's another Void Ray, so this may be held
should be able
fairly
to cancel
easily.
this. Yeah, he'll be able to hold it, but he should be able to cancel the base at least from going down. Would love to see a sentry get warped in, just as sort of a failsafe for the ramp here. One cool thing is by delaying when he drops that, right? Oh dear, little ling run by.
Oh, DT blocks the ramp, keeps the roaches out. That was beautiful.
Yeah, really good play. Photon Overcharge is going to come down. He really needs to get this wall up again as quickly as he can. Playa loves DT Stargate and hates making sentries. I think he's thought, like, since somebody originally in Wings of Liberty said, let's get the sentry and the force field out of the game, he was like, I can't rely on that, so he never has.
He's like, by the way, I was meta-ing the beta of Heart of the Swarm for that.
Oh, snap.
The response to the Void Rays, though, is, of course, Hydralisks and/or Mutas, and in this case, he chose Hydralisks. So it's going to be Ling, Hydralisk, Roach so far for it. The Overseer's there, that DT, which was hoping to sneak up and ghost some stuff, just was taken out. The Protoss army is being pulled back, possibly to deal with this, well, not possibly, but because there is a Zerg attack incoming. The third base is on its second attempt for being brought up, and with this many units, I'm not sure 3 Void Rays can really take out all of this, even though they're only drowned army. There's going to be some damage down here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we have the Hydras being rallied across too, which makes this really scary. If the Nexus finishes, Photon Overcharge is so strong against this because he does have enough to defend if his opponent tries to kill the Nexus. So this is a tight situation. It's going to come down to control.
Exactly. I think this is going to require some very precise micro. The Overseer there is going to make these DTs nearly worthless. Well, not necessarily worthless. They got a few hits off, but it just wasn't enough. Finally, the Void Rays are focusing down the Overseers. Photon Overcharge goes down. You've got a Zerg army that's very, very weak, but it is just not dying. The Hydras are picking off this Void Ray, which is pretty much the only savior. You're left with a DT, a Zealot, and a Mothership Core out there. And somehow, through a miracle of micro, he pushes the Zerg army back with next to nothing left in his own army. The current army value is 2,100 to 450. That was amazing looking.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's a situation where it's like he had he had just enough, and he's left with nothing, but he had about nothing to start with, so it's really pretty impressive that he held it all. I would like to see him add on a couple more cannons, because he knows that his opponent's going to push again. And if you know that's the case, cannons are always going to be a cost-effective solution. He's even making sentries. That's how bad he feels about this engagement. Photon Overcharge just finished. The Immortals are going to do huge damage here. But there's just a lot going on. Photon Overcharge is dropped again.
Wow, that's incredible. Once again, he was at the army deficit, and yet he held that attack. That Immortal has 5 kills, and the Zealots don't have any because the units who actually did the killing aren't there in the battle anymore. But that Nexus, which is weak, held on, and yet here is another push by the Zerg. Ultra aggression on the part of Crilmon here.
Now, so we have more Void Rays coming in. Burrow just about to finish for our Zerg. I don't think he has Tunneling Claws, which would be the ultimate sort of shove tech. But Playa now has 1 Colossus, and one Colossus, and maybe even 2, right? With the right control, means that you can defend against almost an infinite number of opponents. It's a great clutch warp in there to wall off, allowing the Colossus to do a lot of damage. Isn't able to get his pylon down.
Let's see here. What is the... And does he have... No. So Charge is about to finish. That's not going to necessarily do a ton, but it will help for like these future aggression. There's a few units poking down at the last cannon there. He cleaned up the issue in the main, but he's still got some units poking down here. There's DTs. The Overseer's out of position, and the DTs are just owning these Roaches and Hydralisks, scaring them away and pushing them back to the map and maintaining control of this scarily low on health Nexus at his third.
Yeah, so Crilmon, on the other hand, is continuing to try to keep his supply up, keep a good army while forcing trades with Playa, right? And that's really good. He's dropped a 4th pretty safely. He's got a macro hatch coming down. He should be teching up to Hive. Yep. Oh, he just actually started.
He does. It's going to finish actually. No, I'm sorry. You're right. It just started.
Yeah. So doing a lot of good things in the background here. Playa, on the other hand, is just trying to get a higher tech unit count. He's got an Archon. Right, Archons are cool, and he's also got a Colossus down, and he's actually picking this trade, thinking he can trade well enough that it's worth it for him.
Yeah, see, I don't totally agree with the fact. I mean, I agree that that's what he's trying to do, but I mean, he was getting scary closer. He only had 4 units. He had 2 Void Rays, a Sentry. I'm sorry, 5. 2 Voids, a Sentry, and a Colossus. The Colossus being undamaged was good, but it was, if he'd stretched himself too thin, he would have been bad. And this next engagement is not going to go well for him, I don't think. It's going to require some ridiculous control. Zealots charge in. 2 Colossus. I don't know. This is looking a lot more touch and go than it was earlier.
Right. Well, and the big thing here is, as a Protoss, if you don't have range, it's really tough unless you're abusing defensive locations to take a fight with your Colossus. So it's really scary to be pushing out. He does have a recall now, or a time warp. So, I mean, at some point, right, if your Zerg opponent is really dictating the whole game, you want to push out at least at some point, especially with a recall, to say, okay, well, maybe I can get some economic damage done. Maybe I can pick off a base. Something like that. Cute little Roach burrows.
1 Roach survives. Oh, it might. If this Roach actually gets this Nexus, I am gonna... Oh, no, the DT takes it out. That was... Wow. So, finally, we see... So the range is actually finally being researched. It's about 50 seconds out though. There's a whole platoon of Zealots and Colossus moving towards this 4th base, but there is a sizable Zerg army, and now he's got Vipers out. So this is gonna start to hurt because the Colossus can be pulled into that mess of green fun that the Zerg has, and he's not gonna be able to do much about that. He doesn't have the sentry count to sort of protect himself here. So he's going to pull back and bring in some pylons here to allow for reinforce.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not really sure what he's trying to get done. I mean, he's trying to be aggressive, right? But it's really scary to fight against an army like this with what does he have? 3 Vipers without any High Templar. It almost relies on your opponent making mistakes in abducting bad units or dropping bad blinding clouds, something like that. Because he really can't stay in the fight there.
No, and as you saw, the 1 Viper pulled the 1 Colossus, and it hadn't even touched down from the abduct before it was killed. I mean, that was insanely fast, how fast that was.
Yeah, and so what Player's in, though, is the situation where he knows that he has to do a crazy play, like take this really aggressive 4th and push aggressively in order to stay in the game. He just doesn't feel that he can sit at home and be competitive. So here's our
Yeah.
last big fight. Colossus getting great damage done, but the Vipers providing that last little edge to prevent the ultra defensive hold.
Yeah, this
and at
is
the end
just
of the day, we're just
overwhelmingly
going to
in
have
their
too
favor.
much. Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, you're just fine.
This is hopeless. I hate to say it, but it is GG.
Yeah, so
Oh,
Crilmon
wow.
just threw a series of forcing trades, right? And just getting, getting a couple of Void Rays the first fight, picking off a Colossus the next, doing some damage, canceling a base, canceling another base. Just by pulling some of those small trades, Crilmon's able to pull that one out. Some really good play out of both. Playa with a couple of really impressive holds. But in the end, it's just losing just a little bit, even though, he didn't take any of those big losses at any point. That's where the games are changed at this level. So good games out of both players, but we're going
excellent.
on to Deadwing.
Yeah, give me 1 second. My achievement service is crapping out. You know what I'm gonna do? Give me a hot second. I'm also gonna just end the call 1 second. I'm gonna restart my router real quick here, so that'll take 2 minutes if you guys can hold on that long. If not, go ahead and jump into the game.
Yep, you got it. Crilmon needs a moment anyway.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna end the call, and then I'm gonna go ahead and restart my router in case that's
Alright.
causing a hang up for me.
Did I drop out of the party too?
Okay. You were never in it.
Wow.
I added you
I
to
see
the
how
game.
it is.
Yup. I invited
Can't
you
be
to the party,
trusted.
but you didn't want to join.
I don't know. It's probably just, looking at pictures of cats. That's what I do when I'm, while you're doing all the work. I just, just look at pictures. I'm like Imager and all that. But yeah,
It's all about cute overload, man.
cute over.
It's just like a WordPress one.
Oh yeah.
They're the real MVPs.
Yeah. So yeah, like that. I don't. There was a point in time when I actually felt like Playa maybe was gonna kind of tip the scale a little bit. He was very much just kind of hanging on the edge there into something that could into something that could really just like steamroll into his favor, because he doesn't go for those huge like gateway armies. He definitely goes for the really just like really expensive but really effective units that if he continues to retain them, and if he continues to just like make sure he doesn't lose them, and he builds up to say he retains all of his voids, he has 3 voids, 2 colossus, and 2 immortals or something. That ends up being, with just zealots in front of it, that can tear up quite the army. And I think we've seen it in the past too, where I think when he lets his Zerg get to Vipers comfortably, maybe
Right.
that wasn't super comfortably out of Crilmon.
Yeah, he was pushing right there.
Yeah, it was very on edge, but Playa seems to kind of habitually not really have the High Templars quite in time to really handle the Vipers like that. So, I mean, we'll see if he can change things up, get something more done. I don't know. It is Deadwing. It's a little bit more of a easier third base at the very least, which could be good for either player. Or we'll see if there's some sort of I don't know, maybe an effective cheese out of Playa that he goes for. Now we'll see if DJ Spectre
Just got back on.
Okay. Let him in. Oh, hello, Skype. Why is it? I need to get rid of the Skype for Windows 8.
You sure do.
Hello again, guys. So
Hey,
welcome back.
everything. So had a fresh. I did my modem too, because I figured that because
Why not? If you're going to power cycle the router, you may as well power
Why
cycle
not
your.
power cycle the whole neighborhood?
Yeah, exactly.
I would. It's not hard. All you have to do is have one cab crash into the right intersection, and that'll pretty much take out everything here.
Sounds like you speak from experience.
I wasn't in the cab, I swear to God, officer. I'm kidding. No, taxi drivers here are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
Not if you live
So-
in Minneapolis.
Is this actually going to be our last game of the day?
Yes.
Okay.
Our last match. It may not be
Well,
our last
match,
game, of course,
okay.
Kevin, because sometimes
Me and my verbiage.
sometimes somebody that wins the first game doesn't win the second game. So if we have Playa pull this one out,
Yep.
then we'll go to game
So
number
last-
3. But it's
last
our last match of the
match
day.
of the day. Do we have a? Do we know what happened to the other players in
Game
the,
Time and Eon are playing.
Yeah, are they still playing? No report from them. As we're loading in, we might as well, give a little check. I guess maybe nothing reported from them yet, but they are currently playing. But as it is, we have this game going on between our players. Let her up, DJ.
Light her up. All right. So the guy that's currently our hero, and he needs to pull it in for the win to make this super exciting and give himself a chance. We have our teal Protoss in the bottom. What was that, right-hand corner? Playa.
And spawning at the top right, up 1-0. Our green Zerg hero, Crilmon. So we've seen in the past, Playa gets pretty salty about the Zerg race. He's for what I'm trying to think. Midwest Cup #1 would have been in like season 3, I think, of 2014, and he thought Zerg was imbalanced then, and still does now. So it's not going away, but he.
Well, he also had to play against Honeybear. Probably
Right.
he's played like 15 games against Honeybear or something in the lifetime of the Midwest Cup.
Right, and he's won about 4 of those 15, which is
maybe. I don't know if he's ever beaten Honeybear.
he won a series. No, he's never won a match, but he's beaten them in individual maps.
Okay.
Games, we might call them, but then we get into semantics again, and last time that was a disaster.
Do you guys like debate this like over like coffee? You guys wake up and you're like,
No,
all
I
right,
just-
by the
I
way, we're gonna
screwed-
argue about the meaning of a single word today. Go.
I feel like I usually bring it up and then I say things wrong and then I don't know. Semantics, man.
Sam Antics.
Oh.
Wow, you've done that one before, haven't you?
I know, yeah. Some coworker of mine did it to the first time to me like a month ago.
So since we're speaking of names, I'll tell you a really bad joke. So I have this friend of mine from New York, right? And she comes to me, and so my first name is Tony, and they're like, it's like, why are all Italian guys called Tony? And I'm like, okay, I don't know, I bite. And she's like, because right when they're leaving Italy, they stamp on their forehead to New York. Oh. And so that was her. It's okay. She's a New Yorker, so she's allowed to make that joke.
That's pretty funny.
But yeah, so ironically, I've never actually met another Tony that's actually been Italian. So if you guys are out there, hit me up. I'd like to find out that I'm not alone. Well, I'm not Italian, but I just want to find one.
Just other Tonys.
Apparently, it's a name named after a saint. So I don't know. There might be 1 or 2 people, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's like my dad's name is Tony, but it's not Anthony. It's weird. There you go. There's one. Found him.
Papa Wells.
Is he Italian?
No.
No.
All right,
He doesn't fit my criteria. I'm sorry, man.
Nothing too crazy. We do have a gateway expand. This is a really good map for it, so I'm pretty excited to see that. A lot earlier Zealot production. There's some crazy shenanigans. We have seen him before. He'll go 3 Zealots and walk to the other side, and then you can use 3 Zealots and block off one of the single ramps like this, and you can just sort of sit between the main and the natural. It's super annoying. Of course, queens do pretty well against it, but you can also surround a queen with 3 Zealots. So we'll see if he's going to be aggressive with these. He's producing them quite quickly not to be, but
I think part of the thing is that he got kind of off guard. Like he really was. He was always behind in supply last match, sometimes by significant amounts. I think he's trying to get ahead of that so that things like this, like these 2 early lings, won't do as much damage as they're supposed to. And it does look like he's following what you said that he would do. There are 2 zealots walking across the map of these 3.
very good pylon denies the scout into his main.
And he cancels it just because that's all he needed it for was just the block.
Right, and here's one of the cool things. Just walking across the map forces the spine crawler, right? So he either builds the spine crawler or he suffers. So Playa can show up, he can kill a creep tumor, he can kill a drone, a zergling, or he can kill nothing at all. He can see the spine crawler and just go home.
And as you called it, look, the spine crawler actually goes up, but he cancels it, and now it's the zealots versus a whole bunch of zerglings and a queen. These zealots are going to have a very bad day.
Yeah, he didn't have +1 weapons yet, did he? No, yeah, he didn't have +1 weapons yet. So he doesn't trade super well against lings if they get the surround. And we have a pretty scary counterattack coming. We do have a cannon, we do have a mothership core, and we do have another zealot coming out. So he should be able to hold okay here. It's just a matter of how many probes he loses.
Yeah, the cannon's got a nice thing where only I think one Zergling can attack the cannon, maybe,
Right.
in that little corner spot. But the cannon basically only takes all of 5 damage to its shields, and otherwise scares away the Zerglings with the mothership core there. He's getting a Stargate here instead of a Cybernetics core, and he's going Void Ray again. I don't argue with this choice, though I would like to see the Stargate simply so that he has the Warping mechanic. I'm sorry, not the Stargate, the Warp Gate. I'm sorry, oh my god, the Cybernetics core so that he can get Warp Gate. Wow, that was difficult to say.
I knew you'd get there eventually, though.
I'd like him to research Warp Gate and
It's
so
a
he
pretty
can
good
warp in the
upgrade, I've
cells.
heard. But as long as he's being defensive, though, I mean, he's on 1 gateway right now, just creating zealots, and now rotating into Void Rays. So he doesn't need to rush it out. Of course, most all players get it at some point, so we'll probably see it.
Ironically, you seem to be like the Zen Master. I don't know if you have a tap in his mind, but literally as you finish that sentence, Warp Gate began. It is only 14 seconds in.
Whoa.
You're a telepath, man.
I feel like that happens almost kind of often, that as you're looking at something, you're like, maybe this should happen, and then suddenly it goes down, and it's magical.
It's magical. It's like you need that Wayne's World moment where they go to the dream sequence and they're like, "Blue, blue, blue." And Let Me Win goes ahead and predicts yet another thing that's going to happen in the game.
Oh, snap.
Boom. That
It's
happened.
a little poke in there. Would have been very sad if he lost the Void Ray, though, but he does get out with it. Gets a drone kill for his time and a small scout. You have a hat or a burrow coming in for Crilmon again. He's pretty fond of it, so I'm expecting to see some roach aggression again. Followed by, it looks like Hydras. I would think that the burrow is just to really force the matter for his roaches. But we shall see.
That is true. He did go Roach Hydra Viper last time. He does manage to get a few lings in the mineral line, but these cannons, despite there's only one of them, are enough. He's got a Zealot to block the ramp. Once again, he does this amazing job of keeping his main completely unscouted, though the Void Ray sort of gave away what he was doing. But still, that is still a great hold by the Zealot. The Void Ray over here was still trying to poke out, but there was a Queen that pushed it back. There is a second Void Ray now on the field, and he may lose this first one. It's going to be close. Almost. No, 19 health left on that.
Oh man, lasers.
I hear they're good.
commentary, Sam.
Lasers.
Are they on the heads of sharks, like in Austin Powers?
I don't know, man. You lost me with that reference.
Austin Powers, one of the first ones. He's like, there was a shark tank, it was Austin Powers 2, I think. I can't remember. One of it, his son, basically, Dr. Evil's son, has because he's evil, his son goes out and for his father's birthday gives him like a pool of sharks to like throw people into, but he put lasers on their heads, and so he's all excited about the sharks with lasers on their head. Sorry, if you haven't seen the Austin Powers movies, the reference probably falls a little flat.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever like sat down and watched any of them. I've seen portions of them all.
Yeah, I suppose they're just for their era. They may not hold up. They're not classics the way you'd think of them, I think, today. So what are we looking at here? So no, what does he got? He could do. So he is researching charge. He's getting another gateway. There's not a lot of either tech or units really being produced here. He has a dark shrine, so he might try to do some funniness. But once again, there is this very large and very scary Hydra Roach army creeping up to that third. I mean.
Right, and this is a much easier map. He's got just a few force fields. What does he have? He looks like he's got 2 going on 4 force fields between each sentry. So this is a much better map to defend a little bit with the high ground that he has. And then just a few force fields. Of course, he's going to want Colossus, and he's going to want to round out his tech eventually. He's got his Templar archives dropped, which is very cool. He's anticipating those Vipers a little sooner this game. Trying to get ahead of that. The Vipers, though, are much earlier this game. Crilmon staying a little bit lighter. He hasn't been as aggressive, right? He hasn't been pushing with Roach Hydra as much, and in doing so, he's gotten to save some more of his units and got some earlier Vipers. So this is still a scary push.
Very scary, considering that Crilmon's nearly at max supply, and even with photon overcharge and a few nice force fields there, this is just going to be dangerous. This third, I have a feeling, is going to suffer some major collateral damage. Guardian Shields goes up to try to protect the units that are there. The Colossus is out of position, gets snagged by the Viper, goes down in a heartbeat. And wow, this is not looking real promising here. I'm not sure he can hold this, actually, Sam.
Yeah, so Playa's trading okay. We don't have an Overseer, right, for Crilmon, which is a pretty bad mistake given the investment that he made into this attack to be pushed back by, the rippling wall of 3 DTs. Because they're just going to do so much damage if you don't have them. So we should see him rotate in. Yeah, he's bringing an Overseer across. But yeah, that's a scary push, and he took a lot of damage. Playa's going to be hard-pressed to be able to get anything out to defend this, because the go-to would be to try to get in a couple more Colossus and Sentries and abuse positions, but we have those Vipers there, and it looks like we're looking at a Muta switch, so a tough problem.
Yeah, very tough here. And even with the 9 gateways he's got, it's just not enough. I don't think these unit counts can fully do it, because you're right, the Overseer's there, and so his sort of like the one thing that saved him last time was those DTs, and he's not able to do it. He pulls in a bunch of Zealots, and what he really needs is Stalkers here to handle this Roach army, and he just doesn't have any Stalkers. I don't know why you chose Zealots. Maybe he didn't have the...
Well, so the Zealots are going to have good TPS. They're not going to cost gas. That's very cool. But they're going to do good damage, so it forces Crilmon to either decide to fight or not to fight, right? With Zealots, it's going to be hard for him to stutter back with Colossus support. So it's actually the army that's going to give you the most damage in this situation, and also is going to tank the best for you. You have a few more control options with Stalkers, of course, but
he did happen to get a Templar out there. What is it? He did happen to get a Templar out there, but the Templar died without having Storm. Right. And we're looking at now just this is an overwhelming army. The Zealots are trying to clean this up. He did get a Stalker out. He's got the cannon still there, which is amazing that this cannon right here at this third has just been a hero. It's gotten 5 kills and it hasn't taken a lick of damage.
That is pretty darn good. So what we did have there was a fight of a little bit deceiving supplies. There's a really heavy Roach supply in the composition, and as everybody knows, Roaches are bad and they cost a lot of supply. So he does actually hold, and he's closing the supplies a little bit. So Playa's not in a terrible situation. The thing he's still not prepared to deal with, though, are those Vipers. He's got a lot more High Templar coming out, and he does not have Storm researched. But it's still pretty high Hydra Roach counts. Having that mix of Roaches makes Storm less attractive, and makes feedbacking Vipers more attractive. So we'll see what he does from there. He's only got 1 Colossus. So with 3 pulls, I think he should be able to hit that. He certainly can't take this 4th, though, and that's what he needs to do at this stage. So we'll see if he can make something happen. Crilmon still playing pretty impressively. Oh, and he's forcing
issue with the Broodlords.
Yeah,
I don't
cool.
see this very often. Very nice. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but these Broodlords here just tickled me. I really hate them as a Terran player, but it's very nice to see, the Broodlord and the Creep now coming into 3rd. He's trying to go ahead and take this fight at the 4th here, but the Viper pulls the Colossus here. The Zealots charge forward with ferocious force, but aren't able to connect, so he wastes the charge. Great micro on the Zerg player for getting rid of that. The Broodlords are just chipping away at this 3rd. Now the Protoss player is going to have to pull his army into this awkward position, and the Zerg army can literally retreat right into Protoss' 3rd if it wanted to, but it looks like both players are kind of sketchy here about this attack, and just...
Yeah, so time favors Crilmon in this scenario, right? Because the only thing that can go wrong for him right now is if Playa takes a huge fight here and wins. So if Playa is able to do something like split the army with some great force fields... Oh, good storms are landing on the Hydras. Very cool. And this is the big fight that Playa wants to take, right? It's absolutely stacked against him. And it doesn't look to be going extraordinarily well, but what he needed to do was take a big fight there, and so he tried it.
Absolutely, and the Stalkers are actually getting the job done. You're right about the Zealots, and my own experience with them. Since I don't play Protoss or Zerg, I didn't notice the value of it until your statement. So thank you for this being educational to me.
Absolutely.
The Stalkers here are doing their job. They're trying to take out the Broodlords. They are the hard counter to Broodlords, to be honest. I mean, you really want Void Rays to deal with Broods, but he's actually able to push back that entire Zerg army through some miracle. Despite the fact that he is down nearly half the supply of his opponent, he has once again pulled off like 2 or 3 miracle holds in this series, and this is just really exciting StarCraft today.
Yeah, no, very fun. Very good holds out of Playa today, but, I mean, as in our previous game, we see sort of the story of the day is that Playa is able to hold with a lower supply, but it doesn't leave him ahead in the end, right? So Crilmon trades a greater supply for the fight, but at the end of the day, Crilmon's looking at being maxed again, taking a new base, right? He's established a 5th, and Playa's sitting on a less expensive, lower supply army than he was before the fight, and so it's just an uphill battle all the way, and Crilmon, by forcing more and more trades, is going to continue to widen that gap.
Yeah, and you're right. And see, Crilmon has been mining consistently off of 4 bases. He traded his main for being mined out to his... Oh, wow. That was surprising.
Just a little sauce there out of Playa. Wishing good luck to his race mate, Bales, in the winner's bracket. His fellow Protoss. Good games out of Crilmon there. Really convincing.